Okay. Hey, this is part two of our discussion about delegating in our workplace. Hope everyone's doing great. Hope you've had a chance to watch the part one video. So just sit back for a few minutes and let's talk about some of the other important ideas that you need to consider when delegating in our workplace. So here's another one. Provide training. You have to make sure the person you're delegating to has the skills and the training to do what you're handing them to do. Otherwise, you're delegating some work to someone who's not going to be able to do it, could do it completely incorrectly, could never get it done, and then as a result, cause them to be frustrated and stressed out, cause you to be unhappy and stressed out, cause you to have to go do it, and maybe cause some problem for the organization as a whole because you delegated something to someone who needed training. So if you're going to ask somebody to do something, verify they have the ability, and if they don't, you're responsible to make sure they get that training before you hand them that task. And it may be that you just sit with them and walk through the process so that they're trained to do it. It may be that you outsource it to another department in the organization for someone else to train them on some tool or some other process so they get it done right. It may be that you hire somebody and you get permission to hire somebody to train them to be able to do the job right. If you're going to delegate a task, make sure that person has been trained to do it well. Here's the other important idea that you should consider when you're delegating, that is to touch base with the person you're delegating to. And before you touch base with them, or better yet, when you're delegating and giving them the information that they need to be able to do the task, then you at that time arrange for when would be the right time for us to touch base. And it's not touch base at the end of the project. It's touch base early on, maybe early into the project, halfway through it, and before they get done. So you can validate that it's what you need. Depending upon whether it's a simple project or a bigger project, you're going to want to touch base more than once. And when you do touch base, what you're trying to find out is, are you on task, and what do you need to be able to complete this project that I've delegated to you? Touching base means letting the person that you're delegating to know that you want to be there to confirm that they have what they need and they're heading in the right direction. Now, what touching base doesn't mean is to micromanage. So you do not want to micromanage. You do not want to hover over the project. You do not want to email them and call them and text them and over and over again during the project. I'll never forget one of my first management jobs. I handed someone a project to do, and I bothered the living bejesus out of him. Over and over again, I kept saying, where are you? What's going on? What have you run into? Have you moved this forward? Have you gotten in contact with this person? And I know in hindsight that I wore him out because I micromanaged. And you don't need to micromanage if you set up the delegation appropriately with here's what you need. Help them overcome the barriers. Help them make sure they have training. And ask them, when should we talk about where you are, where you're going, and talk before you get done so that we make sure we're all on the same page rather than hovering, emailing, texting, and bothering the living bejesus out of you. Don't micromanage. Here's another one. Feedback. When you delegate to people to do a task for you, no matter how small or how large, you should look for feedback. Not only the ability for you to provide the person you're delegating to some feedback, but also for that person to provide you feedback in regards to how well did you delegate. Did you set it up right? Did you give them all the information they need? Did you explain it appropriately? Did you help them break down barriers and get past borders and boundaries? Did you make sure they were trained right? You need to make sure that you're willing to get feedback from them just as eagerly as you are to give them feedback on ideas they could use to be able to do it better in the future as well. Mutually directional feedback is important as a leader even when you're delegating. Here's another one. Say thank you. Oh my golly, it's so simple, but we forget to do it so often. Thank the person for accepting the task that you're delegating to them. Thank them for being involved in the conversation, and thank them for doing the task appropriately and bringing it to fruition on time. Thank them for being open for feedback. Thank them for giving you feedback. You need to thank people. You need to show gratitude to those who are working with you and or for you. Say thank you. Here's another one that's very important. Share in the rewards and give credit where credit is due. If you delegate a big task to someone, don't collect up the product or the solution or the report or whatever at the end and take and hand it off to your boss and go, hey, I did it. No. If someone does a task that you delegated to them and you're going to present that to someone else, when you present it to that other person, let them know that the person you delegated to pulled it off, made it happen, brought it to fruition, and make sure that the person you're handing it to knows that you're grateful for that person's help. And when it gets celebrated, for whatever reason, it shows up in a press somewhere, whatever, it's not just your name on it. Put the person you delegated's name on as well. Share in the rewards. Give credit where credit is due. Now that brings up this other idea that we need to pay attention to as well, and that is don't throw anybody under the bus. If you are given a task to do and you delegate it to someone in your department or your organization to do it for you, and it goes kaput, or it doesn't get completed on time, or the results are not what you're looking for, you do not go to the person you were delegated from and blame it on the person you delegated to. Rather, you take ownership of that, because you're the one that was supposed to make sure it could be delegated to someone else for completion. You're the one that should have made sure that they had all the barriers taken down, all the resources they need, the training they need, and the support they needed to make it happen. So if it didn't, and that they were able to do it, and if they weren't, if none of those things came together and it didn't get done right, that is on you, because someone handed it to you to do, and you asked someone to do it for you. So never throw someone under the bus. Now, that being said, I would still go back and coach that person that I delegated to make sure that we work through why did it not work? What were they missing? Did they need resources? Did they need training? Did they need barriers taken down? So that it would work better in the future. But never throw someone under the bus when you get delegated and you hand it off to someone else. Delegating in our workplace is not just something that we have the right to do. It's something that we have the responsibility to do properly. It's something we have the responsibility to make sure it will work and that the people we delegate to can make it happen. Delegating in our workplace can really help us get time to focus on far more powerful, far more important ideas, tasks, and activities, but we need to make sure that we delegate appropriately and that we follow these steps that we've talked about in these two videos to make sure that when we delegate, it can happen. This is all about delegating in our workplace. I hope you enjoyed the videos. I hope you got some ideas about how you can delegate better to create more value for the people you delegate to and for yourself and for the organization. Thank you for letting me share. And remember, read the content over the next few weeks. And when you can, go take the survey and answer the questions. I'm Teddy Burris, your leadership coach. Have a great day.